What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Dude Ranch DIY. My name is Jake.
And I'm Chris.
And as you can see, we are out here in the wood yard and we have a new firewood processor here to play with. But first, let's address the elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean cheese. People have been asking, where have you been? Have you been hibernating?
Have you
been doing a summer hibernation?
Yes, a summer hibernation, reverse hibernation. The weather is beautiful and it's perfect time to start painting and cleaning up old Gorgonzola. I've been putting a lot of elbow grease in and trying to get her nice and pretty for some side jobs potentially next year. But I'm just trying to get her in tip-top shape while the sun is nice and the weather is cool. That's about it.
So he's been working on the old Ford, what is it, a
1520.
1520 Ford tractor. So don't worry, he has been capturing some of it on film. So you guys have that to look forward to in the future. But that is where Chris has been. Are we still friends?
Yes, very much so.
Do you still want to be active in the Firewood and Dude Ranch YouTube videos?
I'm here,
right,
aren't I?
You're here. Okay, right. So everybody, don't worry.
We're good.
Chris is still around. There were a lot of people that were worried.
Yeah, I know I'm the star of this show, but we got to give Jake some limelight.
Yeah, every now and then I just need some time to myself. No, but guys, this is a Hudson Forest Equipment Badger, and it is provided to us through Halcyon Hill Wood Products out of Oxford, Connecticut. The owner of Halcyon Hill Wood Products is Mark. Oxford, Connecticut is just one town over from where we are here in southwestern Connecticut. And I reached out to Mark, and Mark had kind of heard about Dude Ranch DIY, and he said, how about I bring over a processor and you just try it out and see if you like it? So that's what he did. This is the Hudson Badger. Let me grab the other camera and we'll do a little bit more in-depth little overview on it, and then we're gonna try it out for the very first time here right now. All right, guys, so this is the Hudson Badger. I've said that a couple times now, and you might be saying, Jake, this doesn't look like your typical firewood processor, and that's because it's not. The way that this firewood processor works is that you can see it has this big hydraulic winch up here, and essentially you pull out this cable and attach it to your logs, which we have over here, and you winch your logs up, and as you suck the winch in, it pulls the log up. It goes into this chamber here, where you can then pull down the hydraulic chainsaw. The round drops down the chute into the splitting trough. The ram comes out and splits it. You can see right now we have the 6-way wedge in. Over here we have your standard 4-way wedge. Now these machines do not all come standard with a conveyor. This is an optional 10-foot conveyor that we have on here for ease of loading the totes. I think that's a really nice feature. I think if you have one of these machines, you probably are going to want a conveyor just so that your wood isn't piling up right at the end of it. A feature that it has right here is a nice grate, so a lot of your fines, that slash and stuff can drop through. And it is powered by a 16 horsepower Vanguard motor by Briggs & Stratton. So it's pretty simple. Other than that, I mean, you have your controls right here for the splitter and for the winch. It is a manual wedge lift to raise and lower the wedge. This is your control for your conveyor. This is your conveyor speed. And to raise and lower the conveyor, you just have a simple, hand crank boat winch here. So these things are not made to be, by any means, the most productive firewood processor out there. I mean, this is not going to be comparable to a full cab unit, like Brute Force or Eastonmade or anything like that. This firewood processor is unique in the fact that it doesn't require any additional support equipment, let's say, to process firewood. In theory, you could pull this machine up to a pile of logs, and without needing a chainsaw, a tractor, or another human, you could process a whole pile of logs with just this machine. Other processors like the brute force processor, the 1624 that I had here on the channel a while back, that had a live deck, and that's great, but you need other equipment to then load that live deck and get logs to the live deck to be able to start processing firewood. With this thing, the unique feature of that winch is that you don't need any support equipment. You don't even need a chainsaw. So Chris and I are gonna get familiarized with it here this afternoon. Like I said, we haven't used this. This is the very first time that we're gonna be playing around with this thing. It just got dropped off last week. It's a nice, cool day. So we're gonna play around and see how it does. You got a lot of talking to make up for all these videos you haven't been in. So what do you have to say about this thing? First impressions, go.
I think it's a pretty cool machine. You know, Gorgonzola not being the most reliable piece of auxiliary equipment, you know, this would be perfect in my little wood yard doing just a little bit of home heating wood. I can have a load of logs delivered and just have this set up in the yard and process the whole thing by myself. No chainsaw, no tractor, no nothing.
And it would make it pretty, I mean, just by looking at it, I think it would make it pretty easy for one person to be able to, you know, to use this thing. So let's see what we got here. As you can see, we got a bunch of logs. They're not, you know, all piled up perfect neatly. You can see they're kind of on top of each other. We wanted to sort of simulate, you know, a log truck coming in or a dump trailer just dumping a load of logs, and we're gonna see how it works, you know, pulling these things up and filling up these two totes. Okay, guys. First time using the Hudson Badger out here in the wood yard. Again, this was presented or given to us to demo by Halcyon Hill Wood Products, Oxford, Connecticut. I'm sorry, Mark. It's kind of a tough name. I have trouble pronouncing things sometimes. Halcyon Hill Wood Products, Oxford, Connecticut. Local Hudson dealer. Hudson has a network of dealers all throughout, North America. So you can go onto their website and check it out if you're interested in checking out their products. This is the Hudson Badger with the attached 10-foot conveyor. We just filled up 2 large IBC totes with pretty nice straight grain ash wood. How long do you think that took?
I'm going to say 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, we started this camera that's recording us right now when we first, started in the beginning. And I just ended it when you told me to shut off the conveyor. That took an hour and 4 minutes. An hour and 4 minutes to fill up 2 totes. Loose totes. Granted, this is our first time running this piece of, equipment here, guys. So, obviously, with any piece of equipment that we've gotten to run or use in the wood yard, there's a huge learning curve. It takes time to figure things out. That being said, I think there are so many, and tell me what you think too, there are obviously a ton of different types of log splitters, from box store splitters to vertical splitters to, what are you laughing at?
That being said, you've said that like 7 times
That
now,
being said, box store splitters, vertical splitters, box wedge splitters, full-on processors, all different types of equipment to suit all different types of people's needs, albeit they all split firewood. No 2 people's needs are the same. So I want to just preface everything that we're about to say. We're giving you our opinion for the type of firewood that we do here in Southwestern Connecticut, Dude Ranch DIY, which is selling to recreational burners first and foremost. They like their wood small, they like their wood dry, they like their wood to burn fast and hot because they just want the ambiance. Most of my clients aren't looking for heat. So everything we're about to say, just want to preface that. I'm not going to say it.
That being said,
Tell me your thoughts.
I think it's an awesome little machine. The drawback that I see from it, doing it Dude Ranch style, is you have to recycle a lot of the pieces, especially on the outer sides of the 6-way wedge.
To get them down.
To get them down to the size that we prefer to sell. If we were using the 4-way, it would be less pieces to recycle, but I think we would still ultimately be recycling pieces.
Yeah. You're saying it would be less, instead of it being 6 pieces to pull back and split, it would just be 4. We would probably have to resplit those 4 pieces 2 times instead of once.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We also get pretty large diameter wood here.
Tree service wood.
Tree service wood. We maxed this machine out with a pretty big log. We actually had to run back to the truck and get a chainsaw to cut off some nubs. That way it would fit through the processor.
Right.
This machine was capable of handling it though. I was pretty surprised with the 16 horsepower motor. I'm not sure what that turns into or translates to as far as tonnage goes, but that one big knot on that 18-inch piece, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I will say the 2 things that impressed me the most about this machine is, 1, it had absolutely no problem cutting max diameter wood. It did, even through a knot. It wasn't like bogging down or anything. The hydraulic saw on there, it was working just fine. And just the pushing power, the splitting power of that ram, I was surprised. When we had the brute force 1424, it would bog down on a knotty piece. This machine powered right through it. So, for only having a 16 horsepower motor, that was pretty impressive, like you said. I think you're right in that you definitely have to have the right sized wood for this. And the fact that we get tree service wood that is both larger diameter and generally shorter pieces, I think that the shorter your pieces are that you're feeding this machine, and again, this is just our first time using it, the more times you have to reset that winch cable.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have 40-foot long tree trunks, you can run a 40-foot long piece through this and you only have to reset that thing every 40 feet. Whereas we're running 6 and 8 foot long pieces, so we have to reset that, you know, every 6 or 8 cuts or rounds. So that's definitely something to be taken into account.
Yeah, the more you have to reset that winch line, the less time you're going to have on the controls actually splitting the wood.
Right, and if you're lucky enough to have a second, partner like I do have here, they can be doing that, but then it takes away, in our case, Chris was also helping to recycle those pieces back, give them to me before they go up the conveyor to split. Now that's just a personal problem. I think just based off this first use, filling up 2 large totes, so we haven't even split a full cord with this thing yet, but I think this thing would be best suited for somebody that is heating with wood. If your customer base, if you're selling firewood and your customer base heats with wood, like Kenny, Chris in the Woodyard's brother, up in upstate, wherever the hell they're from, Wisconsin. Or Minnesota. I think that's Wisconsin, you're right.
The American Canadians.
Yeah, the Great White North. All of his clients heat with wood, so they want big Mongo pieces. As long as they're dry, they'll burn, they'll last longer in the stoves. This machine would be perfect for that, because you could cycle it through the 6-way wedge. As we already said, this thing doesn't care. It'll just push right through it, and you get 6 nice big pieces split up. It'll dry a little bit faster than a full log, and you're off to the races. Where this thing falls short a little bit, I think, is that it takes several cycles, albeit it's easy to recycle the pieces with the open trough. It takes several cycles to get that ideal, matchstick or candlestick firewood size piece that we go after, because that's what our clients want. So I'm interested to keep playing around with this thing. I think we'll definitely keep finding little, things to make it go faster. Mm-hmm. One thing that I did notice right off the bat is that you guys will see that we were attaching the logs at 2 points. That way we could take off, guide the log up onto this ramp with the front piece, and then we would have a second on the back. That way we could take off the front choker. It would still be choked on the back. Chris could go reset this front choker on the back of the next log. And then when this log was fed all the way through from the back, pushing whatever wood was in here, he would take that choker off and go reset it and start from there. But this secondary, sliding choker thing here, you have to pull the whole chain through it every time, right? Which, it's a little bit awkward because it's loosey-goosey on here for a reason, so it can slide, but you're trying to pull a chain sideways and also keep it up in this, circle here, this eyelet. That way it doesn't get caught down in here. So it's just a little awkward. I think if they had, honestly, just another chain hook, bolted on right here, it could still slide freely and it would be a little bit easier, and you could just cinch it wherever you wanted on the chain without having to pull the whole chain through every time. And then the last thing, I know this was annoying you because I saw that you filmed it up close. Why don't you?
Yeah, so on the feed tray, it's almost like a grizzly bar setup where it has the different poles angling everything into the feed. The chain, on the very outside of that feed trough, the posts get real tight.
Narrow. They taper in, like to a V.
So this whole dangling chain is laying down here. It gets caught inside the feed tray, unbeknownst to you, as you're trying to get things going.
Yeah, and if you were just here operating by yourself and that chain got stuck in there on the far side, it did to me once while I was here.
Yep.
I didn't realize it was stuck in there, and I was pulling on the winch and it wasn't going. And I think this winch is a hell of a lot stronger than whatever this metal is. You know, this winch will probably just tear this
it right
apart
off.
if it got a good grab on it. So I think that's like a minor thing that could easily be fixed, you know, in the fabrication process of this machine. But overall, I mean, we got 2/3 done in an hour. Normally we would get, what, 3 totes done in an hour, or four totes done in an hour. So we got about half that.
Yeah.
But this is our first time, doing it.
First time running,
First time
first
doing it.
time machine. You know, it does take some getting used to.
Yeah, definitely does. We have a bunch more straight ash. I wish we had really long pieces, because when Mark was over here dropping this off, he was like, that's where this thing shines. If you have a 100-foot long log, you can run a 100-foot long log, you know, granted, as long as you have enough winch cable. Your limiting factor is the winch cable. So maybe we'll say a 50-foot long log. You could run it, and this thing will pull it through. So maybe we'll have to maybe drop a couple trees or something just to really show this thing shine. But I think if you were to show up to just like a spot that just got logged or something, or you're buying full length log truck loads, this thing would be perfect, especially if you don't care about the size pieces. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think. If you guys have one of these things, drop a comment down below. Let me know any tips or tricks, because we're gonna have it here for, you know, I think kind of like as long as we want. And we're gonna play around with it and see if we can get better at it. We have a base point of 1 hour and 4 minutes for 2 totes. I think we can definitely speed that up. So let us know what you think about this Hudson Badger firewood processor down in the comments. As always, guys, if you like the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, click that subscribe button down below. We'd really appreciate it. But for now, I'm Jake.
And I'm Chris.
He's back.
Yeah.
This is Dude Ranch DIY. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you here next time.
He's back.